really important is to stay in the moment. I think often we get carried away with our emotions when we're racing. So we get a stomach cramp and we think, right, this is the end. Or, you know, you get a bit of a stitch, oh God, my race is over. It's not. A race is an ebb and a flow. You will go through times in a race, and it will strike at different points, not necessarily towards the end, where you think, I can't finish, I feel crap. This hurts, that hurts, they're going faster than me. Things change, things evolve. There have been, every single race I've ever done, I've wanted to quit. At some point, I've thought, this is not your day, you're going like a plank of wood, just pull over to the side. But experience tells me that that feeling will fade. And so you have to stay in the moment and have confidence that you will overcome that sensation and that your body will come good. The last one, test yourself and recall your ability to cope. Really, really important. So every time you question yourself, look back at another time where you thought you couldn't do something and you managed it. And that's why those hard sessions are really, really important. Because you look back, especially when you're racing, you look back and you think, actually, I did that session, I didn't think I could do it, but I did. Or I thought I was going to pull out of that race and I carried on and I finished. I can do it again. And that should give you peace of mind and confidence. I just thought I'd give you an example of a time where I believe that I used as much psychological strength as physical strength to achieve success. It was my last race at Kona. Many of you know, 2 weeks before, I had a little altercation with the tarmac. It kind of left marks. But I had third-degree burns all over my body, and I pulled my pectoral muscle and just had really severe bruising. And a lot of those 2 weeks I was in and out of hospital, getting all the wounds scrubbed out. And I remember Dave Scott, my coach, and my now husband Tom, I tried to get in the pool and I managed a length and I couldn't even swim back, and they had to get me and like carry me like a baby out of the pool and back into the car in my swimsuit. My body was in a pretty dire state, and psychologically I was riddled with self-doubt. Fortunately, in the kind of 3 or 4 days before, my body started to come round, but I was still relatively compromised. And I went into that race, I'd reevaluated my goals, and all I wanted to do was finish. I wanted to give it everything, number one, and I wanted to finish. And never in a million years would I have expected to win. I wouldn't. Maybe I didn't dare let myself imagine it, but I didn't. And that race was as much a test of psychological strength as it was physical strength. And that's why it's the race I'm most proud of. It's not my fastest race by any means, but the number on the clock, and I wish everyone would learn that, is irrelevant. It's not a measure of how hard you've worked. The number on the clock is not a measure of how hard you have worked and how successful you are. The feeling of success comes from within, and it comes from knowing that you've given something absolutely everything, and that's why that race was perfect. And not because it was perfect. It wasn't perfect because so many things happened. So many things went wrong before and during. But it was perfect because I overcome imperfections perfectly, if that makes sense. And we're all out there and we're all expecting our races to go perfectly. We don't want anything to go wrong. That ain't going to happen. We do triathlon, they're 2 hours long, they're 3 hours long, they're 9, 17 hours long. Things are going to happen. Your perfect race is when you deal with things, deal with imperfections perfectly. And that race was the battle I'd always craved within myself, the battle I craved with all my competitors. And when I crossed that finish line, I was absolutely annihilated. And I knew then that I'd answered every single question I'd ever asked of myself. And that's why I retired. Because I knew that that was the challenge that I'd sought. And at that point, the challenge dissipated. And I totally get that Ironman triathlon endurance sports are the biggest challenge for each and every one of us at different stages in our lives. But for me, at that point, I'd achieved the biggest challenge that I'd set myself, and I knew then that the time was right to move on, however scary that change may be. We should all try and remember that our limits are not where we think we are. Not where we think they are. Because they're not. You're only constrained by what you think you can't do. And it bears no resemblance to reality in terms of what you actually can do. Thank you.